All right, today we're jumping into a really bizarre political mystery coming out of Goa. This is a story about tigers, it's about water, and it's about a government that's somehow making two completely opposite claims at the exact same time. So how can a tiger both exist and not exist in the eyes of the state? Yeah, that's the puzzle we're going to piece together today.
So let's get right to it. The big question is simple. Does Goa have tigers? You'd think it's a yes or no question, right? But oh boy, is it more complicated than that. As we're about to find out, when you mix politics and resources, the answer really depends on who you're talking to and what they're trying to get.
And here it is, you can see it right here. This is the paradox in black and white. On one hand, you have the Goa government telling a legal body there's, and I quote, no permanent presence of tigers. Okay, but then, in a completely different legal fight, they say our tigers are permanent residents. Come on. These aren't just slightly different interpretations. They're polar opposites. So what in the world is going on?
Okay, so let's tackle the first side of the story. Let's look at the case of no tigers. This was the government's official public position for a while, and it's a stance that had some pretty serious consequences.
Now, the big problem with this whole no tigers argument, well, the evidence just doesn't back it up. Not even close. You've got the National Tiger Conservation Authority, the NTCA, which has actually captured photos of 3 different tigers in Goa on camera traps. Plus, if you look at a map, Goa's forests are basically a superhighway for tigers, connecting them to habitats in Karnataka and Maharashtra. Tigers don't really care about state lines. So conservationists have been screaming this for ages, making a super strong case that Goa is absolutely tiger territory.
With all this evidence piling up, the pressure started to build. And eventually, the Bombay High Court had to step in. In 2023, they gave the Goa government a direct order, no ambiguity. You have 3 months, declare a tiger reserve. The court looked at the proof and said, yep, this area needs to be protected now.
And this right here is where it gets really interesting. You've got crystal clear evidence, you've got a court order, so why on earth would Goa's government keep fighting it? Why keep denying the tigers exist? What could they possibly get out of resisting? Well, the answer is all about what a tiger reserve actually means.
See, a tiger reserve isn't just, a nice park with a fancy sign. It's a very specific legal designation under the Wildlife Protection Act. It creates a super restricted core area where the tigers can thrive, and then a managed buffer area around it. It's a major, major conservation commitment.
And this is the real reason behind the no tigers claim. The second an area becomes a tiger reserve, a huge chunk of control over that forest land shifts. It goes from the state government to the national body, the NTCA. So by saying, we have no tigers, Goa was essentially trying to keep control over its own forests. It all comes down to power.
Okay, but just when you think you've figured it out, that it's all about control, the story takes a wild twist. Because at the same time Goa was fighting against a tiger reserve in one court, they were making the complete opposite argument in another. And here it is, straight from the horse's mouth. In a totally separate case about river water, the Goa government argued, and I'm quoting here, "Our permanent resident tigers are dependent on this water." Wait, what? Suddenly the tigers that didn't exist for one court are now permanent residents who are apparently very thirsty. So get this. In a fight with neighboring states over the Mahidi River, Goa's tigers magically reappeared. They became this incredibly powerful bargaining chip. The government's whole argument was, hey, we can't give up this water because our precious, permanent tiger population needs it to survive. The tigers basically became a weapon to secure a resource.
And this is where it all clicks into place. The two contradictory stories finally make sense together. This wasn't some kind of mistake or confusion. No, this was a calculated strategy. It was a balancing act between two huge competing interests for the state, control over land and access to resources.
So this whole paradox wasn't an accident. It was a strategic choice. The Goa government was in a tough spot. The very existence of its tigers was a huge advantage in one fight, but a massive liability in another. So what did they do? They tailored reality to fit whichever courtroom they were standing in that day.
This table just lays it all out perfectly. Let's break it down. On one side, you have the deny tigers scenario. What's the upside for Goa? They get to keep 100% control over their forests. Awesome. But the downside? Their argument for needing that river water gets a whole lot weaker. Okay, now look at the other side. Claim the tigers. The upside here is huge. They have a much stronger case for getting more water. But the downside? They have to create that tiger reserve and give up a lot of control to the national authorities. It's a classic political catch-22.
So, when you peel it all back, what this whole mess is really about is a high-stakes game. We're talking about a state's power over its own land, its desperate need for critical water resources, and, oh yeah, caught right in the crossfire is the actual future of tiger conservation in that entire region.
And all of this leaves us with a really tough, provocative question to think about. When politics forces a choice like this, what's more valuable to a state? The tiger living in its forest or the river flowing through it? It's a dilemma that really shines a light on just how complicated things get when conservation crashes into politics.